Clara sat on a weathered rock, her heart heavy with sorrow. Just a few months ago, she had been a bride, filled with hope and love. Now, at only 20 years old, she felt like a ghost in the town that once welcomed her. The sudden loss of her husband had shaken her world to its core. In the midst of her grief, her parents-in-law turned against her, blaming her for the tragedy. Without any place to go, Clara found herself standing in front of a dusty saloon, feeling lost. She wandered through the streets of the small settlement, where whispers followed her like shadows. The townsfolk looked upon her with pity and scorn, as if she were an outsider, someone who didn't belong. "What will you do now?" they sneered, their laughter echoing in her ears. It stung, but Clara held on to a faint glimmer of hope. One day, she stumbled upon an abandoned patch of land just outside town. The blue spring nearby sparkled eerily under the sun, and Clara felt an unusual pull toward it. She learned that it could be bought for just $1. Some mocks rang through her mind as she considered this, but something inside urged her to take the leap. "I can make something of this land," she whispered to herself. With determination swelling in her heart, Clara decided to purchase the land. Even though the townsfolk laughed and doubted her dreams, she couldn't shake off the feeling that her new beginning was right there, waiting patiently beneath the warm sun and beside the shimmering water. As Clara walked away from the saloon, something caught her eye. Just a little distance from town, she noticed a stretch of land glimmering under the sunlight. Curious, she approached it and was captivated by the sight of an eerie blue spring bubbling nearby. The water shimmered like sapphires, and Clara felt a strange sense of peace wash over her. Suddenly, a sign posted at the edge of the land drew her attention: "Land for sale, $1." She could hardly believe her eyes. With only $1 left from her meager savings, this seemed like a golden opportunity. "This could be my chance," she thought excitedly. However, when Clara returned to town to share her discovery, the townsfolk greeted her enthusiasm with laughter. "You want to buy that cursed land?" a man scoffed, shaking his head. Another woman chimed in, "Good luck. You'll just end up with nothing but trouble." Their jeers echoed around her, making her cheeks flush with embarrassment. Despite their harsh words, Clara stood firm. She recalled the peaceful feeling by the spring and the hope it sparked within her. "I can make something of this land," she murmured under her breath as doubt crept in. Ignoring their mockery, she decided that buying the land was worth taking a risk. Clara's heart raced with determination as she made her way back toward the spring. While the townsfolk continued to laugh and doubt her decision, she felt lighter than air, ready to embrace whatever awaited her on that forgotten patch of earth. Clara stood at the edge of the blue spring, her heart pounding with excitement and nervous energy. With the $1 clutched tightly in her hand, she marched to the local office to make the purchase. The clerk raised an eyebrow when she handed over the coin. "You really want this land?" he asked skeptically. Clara nodded firmly, saying, "Yes, I do." After signing her name on the parchment, Clara felt a weight lift off her shoulders. This land was hers. She could already envision rows of vibrant vegetables growing under the sun. "I'll have a vegetable farm," she whispered to herself, imagining plump carrots, juicy tomatoes, and leafy cabbages sprouting from the rich soil. As Clara worked on her new land, planting seeds and tilling the earth, she could hear distant chuckles from town. "That girl thinks she's a farmer now," one person shouted. But Clara shook off their words like dust from her clothes. Each day, she woke before dawn, determined to nurture her crops and create something beautiful. The blue spring provided fresh water, making it easier for her plants to thrive. As days turned into weeks, Clara learned how to care for her little garden. With every sprout that broke through the ground, her confidence grew stronger. "I'm going to show them what I can do," she declared with a fierce smile. With hope filling her heart, Clara dreamed not just of feeding herself but also of sharing her harvest with others. She envisioned a time when those who doubted her would see her as more than just a lonely girl, they would see her as a true farmer. Clara stood proudly in her small patch of land, ready to begin the hard work ahead. She felt the warm sun on her back as she knelt down, digging her fingers into the soil. Each seed she planted filled her with hope. "Carrots first," she said softly, pushing the tiny seeds into the ground. Next, she lined up the tomato seeds, followed by the cabbage. With every planting, Clara imagined the vibrant colors that would soon sprout. Days turned into weeks, and Clara worked tirelessly. She watered the seeds from the blue spring, careful not to drown them but ensuring they received just enough moisture. "You've got this, little ones," she encouraged as she gently tended to her plants. Even when her hands were sore from digging and her knees ached from squatting, she pressed on. But challenges were everywhere. A strong storm once swept through the area, threatening to wash away her hard work. Clara stayed awake through the night, covering the young plants with a makeshift barrier made of branches and leaves. "I won't let you wash away," she whispered fiercely. As the sun rose again, Clara emerged from her makeshift shelter to find most of her plants still standing strong. This victory fueled her determination even more. She spent silent moments observing her crops, noticing how they grew day by day, reaching for the sky. Each sprout was a small triumph. Clara couldn't help but smile wider as she imagined harvesting her vegetables soon. If she could nurture life from this land against all odds, perhaps she could finally prove herself to those who doubted her. As the days turned into weeks, Clara began to feel a deep connection to her land. Each morning, she woke before dawn, the cool air wrapping around her like a comforting blanket. The blue spring glistened, its water reflecting the first light of day. Clara smiled as she walked toward it, grateful for the life it gave to her crops. "Thank you for being here," she said softly, feeling as if the spring listened to her every word. Every seed she planted and every sprout that emerged felt like a small miracle. Clara would often sit on the ground, watching her vegetables grow with fascination. The carrots poked their green tops through the soil, while the tomatoes stretched toward the sun with vibrant determination. "You're all growing so beautifully," she marveled, running her fingers over the lush leaves of cabbage. With each passing day spent in nature, Clara discovered more about herself. She felt stronger and more capable than ever before. The laughter of the townsfolk faded from her mind as she focused on nurturing her little farm. She learned to read the clouds for rain and adjusted her watering schedule based on how warm it felt. Clara found joy in simple moments. Listening to birds sing and watching butterflies flit around her crops brought happiness she hadn't known since before her husband passed away. This land became more than just a garden, it was a place of healing and hope where new dreams could take root. "I can do this," she whispered one evening as she watched the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and purple. With each passing day, Clara's bond with the land deepened, reinforcing her belief that a brighter future was blooming just beyond the horizon. One chilly evening, Clara was tending to her crops when dark clouds rolled in unexpectedly. The once clear sky turned ominous, and a sharp wind picked up, whipping through the trees like a warning. She paused, looking up at the swirling grey above her. "This doesn't look good," she muttered, her heart racing as the air became frigid. Within hours, the blizzard hit the town with an unyielding ferocity. Snowflakes danced wildly through the air, and within minutes, everything was blanketed in white. Clara hurried back to her small shelter by the spring as the wind howled around her. The biting cold seeped into every crack and crevice of warmth, and she knew she had to act quickly. The storm raged on, trapping families in their homes without enough food to survive the harsh conditions. Clara's heart sank as she thought of her neighbors. Those who had once doubted her ability to take care of herself now found themselves in dire need. Her mind raced, she could hear the whispers of those laughing at her dreams fading away into nothingness. After checking on her crops, she was relieved to see many still standing strong against the blizzard's wrath. A determination surged within her. "I can help," she decided firmly. Slowly but surely, Clara began gathering what vegetables she could from her farm: carrots, tomatoes, and cabbage, all precious resources that might feed those caught in the storm. Armed with baskets filled with food and hope, Clara braved the cold winds as she set out toward town. She felt more than just a survivor. This was her chance to show everyone that she truly belonged, ready to lend a helping hand when it was needed most. Clara trudged through the snow, her heart racing as she approached the first house in town. She knocked on the door, and it creaked open to reveal a worried family huddled inside. "Clara! What are you doing out in this storm?" one woman exclaimed, her eyes wide with surprise. "I brought food," Clara said, holding up her baskets filled with carrots, tomatoes, and cabbage. "I know it's hard to find supplies right now." The family's eyes lit up at the sight of fresh vegetables, grateful for the unexpected blessing. As she continued down the street, Clara visited more homes, each time bringing comfort and smiles. People who had once laughed at her dreams now stood in awe of her generosity. "Thank you, Clara," whispered an elderly man, his face lined with worry from hunger. "You're a lifesaver." Word spread quickly about Clara's kindness and her bountiful harvest. Families began to gather at her small shelter by the Blue Spring, exchanging stories of the blizzard and their struggles. Clara welcomed them all with open arms, offering warm meals made from her freshly harvested crops. Each evening became a gathering of community spirit where laughter mingled with shared meals. "I never thought I'd see this day," one neighbor admitted as they enjoyed a hearty soup filled with Clara's vegetables. "You've turned your land into a haven for us all." With every bite shared and smile exchanged, Clara felt a warmth growing within her, a sense of belonging that had once felt so far away. In helping others survive through the blizzard, she finally saw herself as part of this community, proving that resilience could blossom even in the harshest of winters. As the blizzard began to wane, families emerged from their homes, spirits lifted and smiles spreading across their faces. Clara's bravery had transformed her in their eyes. She was no longer just the girl who bought cheap land but a hero who saved lives. Neighbors gathered at her farm, drawn together by a shared experience that had knit them closer during the storm. Standing before the small crowd, one man spoke up, his voice filled with gratitude. "Clara, you saved us all. We owe you more than we can repay." His words echoed through the crowd, met with nods of agreement from those who had once doubted her. Clara felt her heart swell with pride and humility. In the following days, the townsfolk came to help Clara on her farm as a way to give back. They brought supplies and offered labor in exchange for fresh vegetables, carrots and cabbages that had fueled them through the storm. Their laughter filled the air as they worked side by side, turning what was once scorn into community spirit. "You've done something remarkable," another neighbor said as they picked ripe tomatoes together. "We never believed you could make this land bloom like it has." Clara smiled, realizing that their perceptions had shifted. She was no longer an outsider, she had woven herself into the very fabric of their community. The changes did not only lie in how others viewed her but also in how she viewed herself. No longer defined by her past pain, Clara stood tall among her neighbors, empowered by their trust and friendship. She had not just fed them during a difficult time, she had cultivated hope and resilience within their hearts, proving that even the smallest seeds could grow into something mighty when nurtured with care and love. The warmth of the sun shone down on Clara as she stood in her thriving vegetable garden, surrounded by her neighbors who had come to help with the harvest. Laughter and conversation filled the air, replacing the isolation that once enveloped her. Clara felt a surge of gratitude and joy. She had turned her once empty land into a vibrant source of life, feeding not just her neighbors but also nourishing her own spirit. As baskets filled with fresh vegetables were carried away, Clara looked around at the smiling faces. "I never imagined I could do this," she said, her voice steady with newfound confidence. "Together, we've created something beautiful." Her words resonated deeply. They reflected not only her journey but also the bonds formed through shared struggles. The townsfolk now recognized Clara's resilience and strength. They no longer saw her as merely a girl who took a risk on $1's worth of land, they saw her as a beacon of hope and capability. She had transformed rejection into acceptance and doubt into belief, showcasing that even in the harshest conditions, kindness and determination could flourish. As she watched families leave with their shares of vegetables, Clara realized that she was not just surviving, she was thriving. Her journey had turned her pain into purpose, helping others in their time of need while finding a place where she belonged. With each passing day, Clara felt more empowered to pursue her dreams. The laughter and camaraderie around her were reminders that she had found not just a community but also herself, a woman capable of greatness despite adversity. Clara smiled brightly, knowing that she had truly blossomed alongside her crops, ready for whatever future awaited her on this vibrant piece of land by the Blue Spring.